My name is Dick Van Dyke, not a stage name. In 2 weeks, going to be 91.
I wanted to pay great tribute to the first film because it means so much to me, and I, in a way, wanted to protect it.
Dick Van Dyke's return to Mary Poppins.
Our sweep is as lucky can be.
A Disney classic that has endured the passing of time, Mary Poppins certainly left its mark on its viewers. But what made it so special? The chemistry between the characters was so clear for everyone to see. Or was it? Finally, after 60 years, Dick Van Dyke has opened up about the show's set.
The iconic film Mary Poppins was more than just a hit movie. It pushed the film industry forward and entertained several generations.
Starring Julie Andrews, Dick Van Dyke, and featuring unforgettable tunes from the Sherman Brothers, 6 decades later, a spoonful of sugar still helps the medicine go down.
What did he reveal? And how much of everything did we get wrong? Join us as we dive into how Dick Van Dyke confessed the truth about the Mary Poppins set drama. 60 years in the making. Dick Van Dyke had nothing but praise for his Mary Poppins co-star, Julie Andrews. While speaking on the June 26 episode of the Hollywood Reporters Awards Chatter podcast, Van Dyke, now 98 years of age, was asked about the 1964 movie being Julie Andrews' feature film debut. Julie earned a Best Actress Oscar for playing the titular role in the iconic flick, while Van Dyke played 2 memorable parts. Bert, a chimney sweep.
There was a spirit about that thing from the very beginning. Walt had me in.
And aging bank owner, Mr. Dawes Sr. When questioned whether he felt she had it right away, Van Dyke responded that it was like she had done a whole lot of movies. In the words of the legendary actor, she was as cool as a cucumber. Afterwards, he told them what he experienced during the recording. He recalled that not only is she a soprano, she sang just a hair on top of the note. While asked about his opinion on Julie praising him for being so patient with her on her first film set,
Julie, it's Bert. You may not recognize me, but I'm Bert.
he insisted that there was no way they would have ever known it was her first film set, with the way she carried herself. Van Dyke is an old man way beyond his prime years. However, when it was time for a Mary Poppins reunion, how did the veteran actor fare? Mary Poppins returns. Dick Van Dyke revealed that when he heard Disney was developing a sequel to Mary Poppins, his first reaction was to ask if it was possible for him to be in it. It stands to reason that the only proper response anyone in Hollywood could have to the legend's question would be a resounding yes. According to the director Rob Marshall, he was beyond shocked that the veteran actor still wanted to play a role in the remake. The director cited the 1964 Mary Poppins as the first film he ever saw.
In a way, wanted to protect it.
That's because the 1964 Mary Poppins was the first film a 4-year-old Rob Marshall had ever seen.
And he had a fan-favorite moment where he got to show off Van Dyke in a scene-stealing cameo in the 2018 sequel, Mary Poppins Returns. He recalls being so nervous talking to him because, obviously, there stood before him his hero, Dick Van Dyke. First of all, the director claims to be like his biggest fan. Although he acknowledges that there are millions of fans who would contest his claim, to him, he really felt like one of his biggest. In fact, he knows every Dick Van Dyke Show episode intimately. He then went on to list a number of the veteran legends shows like Bye Bye Birdie and all of them, Mary Poppins, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And to prove he's not a regular fan, he goes beyond the most popular ones and includes others like Robinson Crusoe that he did for Disney.
Here comes Dick Van Dyke in the most hilarious South Sea Island misadventure of them all. Walt Disney's comedy motion picture, Lieutenant Robin Crusoe.
And so many others. He just was a huge fan. And he hoped that the legendary actor felt that support and love immediately over the phone, because he said yes right away. That was an amazing experience for Marshall. To the director, the excitement was not just in getting Van Dyke's stamp of approval on the movie by virtue of the then 93-year-old appearing in it, but also the ease with which the filmmakers were able to find the perfect place for him to pop up. In Mary Poppins Returns, the whereabouts of Van Dyke's chimney sweep Bert are explained away quite early on as traveling the world off to parts unknown. However, the same cannot be said for the Dawes family, and in Marshall's sequel, Van Dyke plays banker Mr. Dawes Jr., whose father he played in the 1964 film. Getting someone of Van Dyke's caliber to return to the screen is not easy. So, what was Mary Poppins Returns like for the new cast members? When the new meets the old. Van Dyke said in a press kit interview with Disney that they put mustaches and wigs and mutton chops and everything on him. This was surprising to him, as he explained to them that they were making up a 90-year-old to look like a 90-year-old.
Going on to celebrate a big birthday this weekend, Mary Poppins' Dick Van Dyke. How can you not love that man, right? He turned 90 years old.
But Marshall had a different outlook. Here, Van Dyke was playing a dual role in the first film and basically playing this old man. And now he is that age. He still had to play it old, although he's not that old at all. To Marshall, he was still so youthful. Van Dyke's agility and youthful exuberance raised questions about whether or not a stunt double was being employed. However, Marshall was quick to put an end to those claims. The director claimed that every single one of his performances was truly his, and not a stunt double. Marshall, in a statement, said that he would never, and even if he wanted to, he could never. He would never do a double for the legend. Never. All of his actions that was beheld on the screen, everything was him. Every bit of it. And in fact, when Van Dyke jumped on the desk, they had put a stool, a chair, and then the desk. And Lin-Manuel Miranda was there to help him up. But he refused. He refused a helping hand. He didn't even use the stool. He just jumped up. They were all in awe of his grace and agility and thought, what did he just do? Because he could, and he was so excited to do that. And they did it a few times. Marshall claims they did not just go through one take. Emily Blunt and Miranda, who play Mary Poppins, and Jack, Bert's apprentice, remember it fondly. The duo recalled him just waving them away, almost like, "Get out of my way." He was so game and so agile, says Blunt, who adds that she and Miranda were reduced to pure grinning mannequins during the scene, so much so that you can even see it in the finished film. There was no acting required, laughs Miranda. Although Mary Poppins Returns had its share of emotionally charged days on set, many members of the production count the days with Van Dyke as far and away the most magical.
That, I think, rather took people's breath away when he stepped on set. And people were quite emotional, actually, watching him.
For Miranda, it was because of an off-script tangent. Van Dyke had already improvised during his time on set. He began reciting the wooden leg named Smith joke from the 1964 film, which Marshall decided to keep in his finished cut. But according to Miranda, Van Dyke brought another improvisation, one that struck more of a chord. Well, a few chords, technically. Miranda recalled that he had a beautiful monologue, but then he also sang "Feed the Birds." Younger actors are rarely opportune to learn from the old legends, but this young cast was. What did they take away from their experience with Van Dyke? Learning from the best. Miranda, one of the new cast members, never saw the end of Mary Poppins until she was in high school, because when she was a kid, "Feed the Birds" would come on, and that melody was so sad, she would burst into tears and turn off the movie. So to have him beautifully perform this incredible monologue, and then those notes, which still wreck her to this day, it was very tough holding it together. Miranda was not the only cast member to have had a special moment with the veteran legend. Blunt had a special moment of her own with Van Dyke. According to her, he did do this one wonderful thing, which she would probably cry even thinking about, she said.
I don't think I'm involved in it, but Emily Blunt is going to be playing Mary Poppins.
They were sitting on set, and they were chatting about the original, and there was a little lull in the conversation, and he just leaned over and held her hand and sang, "It's a Jolly Holiday with Mary." This to her was so special. But Blunt says that more than anything, Van Dyke's time on set marked the day that Rob cried hard. She knew that Rob was struggling to hold it together because Van Dyke finished his speech, and there was a huge pause, and no one was saying cut. As Marshall tells it, Van Dyke's monologue to the bank's children did him in. He told a story to the kids, and it was so moving to him that he honestly could not say the word cut, because he was weeping. Because it was just the whole thing. All of it. It was him. In his film, playing this character, in Mary Poppins, still being here. Plus he's so good. It was all that. Disarming, yes, but also dazzling. He was just so extraordinary, Marshall says. He walked onto the set and said that he felt the same spirit here that he felt on the original. And for everyone there, that was another dream come true. How did the 99-year-old actor manage to still perform optimally despite the wear and tear of age? Age is just a number. Van Dyke has been practicing since his high school days in Danville, where he jettisoned plans to join the ministry soon after he discovered drama class. However, he turned out to be a jack of all trades. He was one half of a touring mime team, a television announcer, and a radio disc jockey. But it was the theater director and choreographer Gower Champion who saw potential in Van Dyke's rubbery-legged agility and cast him as the lead in a Broadway production of Bye Bye Birdie. However, a young Van Dyke had his reservations, telling Mr. Champion that he doesn't dance. Mr. Champion, remaining undeterred, promised the young man that they were going to teach him. Since then, Van Dyke hasn't stopped moving. At the premiere of Mary Poppins Returns, Van Dyke, spry but holding a cane, had to navigate a press-filled red carpet nearly a city block long, when a wall of paparazzi roared, "Dance for us, Dick!" The blue-eyed star smiled and proceeded to oblige their request with a jaunty soft shoe. Before Van Dyke was swallowed up by the hoopla, he sat on a folding chair and spoke of what it was like to revisit Mary Poppins after a 54-year recess, how the Poppins author, P.L. Travers, would have regarded Returns, and how he stays in shape. A week later, by phone, with his wife gently keeping him on course, he answered a few more questions. When asked if performing at his age required him to undergo some special procedures, he responded in the negative. According to the veteran, he is always dancing. And he works out every day, mostly in the pool. He goes to the gym and does a little bit of weightlifting, but at his age, not a lot, because he is arthritic. Van Dyke, when asked what his biggest challenge of his return was, answered that it was to make sure that he sounded like a Brit. He'd taken it on the chin for 60 years about his atrocious Cockney accent in the first movie. No one seems to have ever forgotten it. Because of that, the producers had a language girl almost handcuffed to me. But it yielded good results, as she made him sound pretty good, making sure they won't laugh at him on this one. The actors still managed to have a fun time with the new casts. They had to fly constantly, so the new cast members asked a lot of questions about that. Reminiscing on the original movie, he remembers a day that they were all up there doing I Love to Laugh, and they broke for lunch, and everybody left, and forgot that they were hanging up there. He figured it must have been 15 minutes before somebody realized and came and let them down. Van Dyke has lived and is still living a very cheerful life. So, let us go through his life. The life of Van Dyke. He grew up in Danville, Illinois, He is the older brother of actor Jerry Van Dyke, who appeared as his brother in The Dick Van Dyke Show. Van Dyke attended Danville High School in 1944, where he participated in the a cappella choir and dramatic club. It was his involvement in the drama program that convinced him to become a professional entertainer, although he also considered a career in the ministry. Van Dyke left high school during his senior year to join the United States Army Air Forces for pilot training during World War II. He was denied enlistment several times for being underweight, but he was eventually accepted for service as a radio announcer before transferring to the Special Services and entertaining troops in the continental United States. He was discharged in 1946. Van Dyke would not receive his high school diploma until later in 2004. During the late 1940s, Van Dyke was a radio DJ on WDN in Danville, Illinois. In 1947, he was persuaded by pantomime performer Phil Erickson to form a comedy duo called Eric and Van, the Merry Mutes. The duo toured the West Coast nightclub circuit, performing a mime act and lip-syncing to 78 RPM records. They moved to Atlanta, Georgia in the early 1950s and performed on a local television show featuring original skits and music called The Merry Mutes.
Hey, who were the Merry Mutes, and do you dare talk about it, or have you hushed that part of your life up?
I have tried to.
The legend's start in television was with WDSU-TV New Orleans Channel 6, first as a single comedian and later as MC of a comedy program. However, his first network TV appearance was with Dennis James on James's Chance of a Lifetime in 1954. He later appeared in 2 episodes of The Phil Silvers Show during its 1957 and 1958 seasons. He also appeared early in his career on ABC's The Pat Boone Chevy Showroom and NBC's The Polly Bergen Show. During this time, a friend from the Army was working as an executive for CBS television and recommended Van Dyke to that network. Out of this came a 7-year contract with the network. During an interview on NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me program, he said he was the anchorman for the CBS morning show during this period with Walter Cronkite as his newsman. In November 1959, Van Dyke made his Broadway debut in The Girls Against the Boys, which ran at the Alvin Theater. The production was a revue in 2 acts and featured performances from Van Dyke, Shelley Berman, Bert Lahr, Nancy Walker, and many others. The production ran on Broadway for 16 performances from November 2 to November 14, 1959. One thing was clear: it was only up from here for Van Dyke. But how did his stellar career go? A legendary career. From Mary Poppins, Bye Bye Birdie, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to The Dick Van Dyke Show, Diagnosis, Murder, and his recent Daytime Emmy Award win for Days of Our Lives, beloved Dick Van Dyke has been performing for over 7 decades.
They're the nominees for Outstanding Guest Performance in a Daytime Drama Series.
And the Emmy goes to Dick Van Dyke as Mystery Man Timothy Robichaux.
His accolades include 6 Emmy Awards, a Grammy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a Tony Award. Additionally, he was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame in 1993 and was honored with the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award in 2013 and by the Kennedy Center Honors in 2020. Naturally, it was only right that the classic The Dick Van Dyke Show cemented Van Dyke as one of the country's top physical comedians. But his exceptional comedic timing, versatility as an actor, iconic roles in beloved family-friendly films, and the ability to seamlessly transition between comedic and dramatic roles are the secret sauce behind his durability. The legend began his film career by playing the role of Albert J. Peterson in the film version of Bye Bye Birdie, which he had appeared in earlier on stage in. It also featured Anne Margaret, Janet Leigh, and Maureen Stapleton. The production received mixed reviews from critics, such as Brooks Atkinson of the New York Times, who praised Van Dyke as likable, but opined, "As a production, it's neither fish, nor fowl, nor good musical comedy. It needs work." Despite this, the musical won 4 Tony Awards, including for Van Dyke, who won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical in 1961. Also, The Dick Van Dyke Show, which premiered on October 3, 1961, won 15 Emmy Awards across its 5 seasons. Dick Van Dyke won 3 times for Outstanding Continued Performance.
Nominations for leading actor in a comedy series are
Dick Van Dyke, The Dick Van Dyke Show.
In Hollywood, the winner is Dick Van Dyke.
And Mary Tyler Moore won twice for Outstanding Continued Performance by an actress in a leading role in a comedy series. Creator Carl Reiner, meanwhile, took home 3 trophies for Outstanding Writing Achievement in Comedy. The Dick Van Dyke Show received positive reviews from its start, with The Hollywood Reporter praising Van Dyke's comedic performance, writing, "Sure to catch on as a new personality is Dick Van Dyke, who, though he can play it straight when need be, proves a master of the double take, juicing up to solid laughs what would possibly be just amusing lines with his physical reactions. Yet, he doesn't overmug. In this one, his drunk husband bit was a masterpiece of timing and ingenuity." Ken Tucker of Entertainment Weekly reviewed the series following its Blu-ray box set release in 2012, writing that The Dick Van Dyke Show certainly wasn't the first sitcom featuring a lead character who presided over a TV show within the TV show. Jack Benny's The Jack Benny Program, among others, had beaten Van Dyke to that. But this was the first sitcom to meld the workplace sitcom with the domestic sitcom so easily. The episodes themselves move with the same smoothness and grace that Van Dyke and Moore did, whether the Petries were clowning, dancing, or romancing. The series had a reunion in 2004 and was aired on CBS as The Dick Van Dyke Show Revisited, with Ray Romano serving as host, and Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore, Rose Marie, Jerry Van Dyke, and Carl Reiner returning. Maury Amsterdam and Richard Deacon appeared in archival footage, both having passed. All of this success only set him up for his biggest career success, The Mary Poppins Show. How did that go? Hitting his peak. In 1964, Van Dyke was cast in 2 roles in Walt Disney's Mary Poppins, as Bert, a man who goes through multiple odd jobs, ultimately and memorably becoming a chimney sweep, and as bank chairman Mr. Dawes Sr. For his scenes as the chairman, he was heavily costumed to look much older.
Do you guys realize you're making up a 90-year-old to look like a 90-year-old? He actually, for me, looked too good. Mr. Dawes in the first one was kind of scruffy. This guy was pretty well turned out.
And was credited in that role as Navkid Keed. At the end of the credits, the letters unscramble into Dick Van Dyke, which was repeated in Mary Poppins Returns. His attempt at a Cockney accent has been lambasted as one of the worst accents in film history, cited by actors as an example of how not to sound. In a 2003 poll by Empire magazine of the worst ever accents in film, he came in second to Sean Connery in The Untouchables, despite Connery winning an Academy Award for that performance. According to Van Dyke, his accent coach, veteran actor J. Pat O'Malley, was Irish and didn't do an accent any better than he did, and no one alerted him to how bad it was during the production. Still, Mary Poppins was successful on release, and its appeal has endured. Chim Chim Cher-E, one of the songs that Van Dyke performed in Mary Poppins, won the Academy Award for Best Original Song for the Sherman Brothers, the film's songwriting duo. Van Dyke received a Grammy Award in 1964, along with Julie for his performance on the soundtrack to Mary Poppins. In the 80s, he appeared mostly in TV movies, including a made-for-cable remake of The Country Girl with Faye Dunaway. One atypical role was as a murdering judge on the second episode of the TV series Matlock in 1986, starring Andy Griffith. He also guest-starred on the NBC comedy series The Golden Girls, portraying a lover of Beatrice Arthur's character. This role earned him his first Emmy Award nomination since 1977. What do you make of Van Dyke's comment on Julie? And how big is his legacy in Hollywood? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.